Good morning, Virgo. Thanks for being here. Um, okay, come here for a second. I need you to sit down for this one because what I'm about to share with you, I've been turning it over, trying to find the right words, and I'm still not entirely sure I have them. But I think you need to hear it anyway. Mm. Okay, there are things that live inside people for a very long time before they find their way into language. Not because the feeling isn't clear, sometimes the feeling is the clearest thing a person has ever known, but because language for something this large feels almost inadequate. Like trying to carry the ocean in a paper cup. And so the feeling stays inside, vast and wordless and overwhelming, while the person who carries it searches quietly and sometimes desperately for a way to begin. I'm not sure how to tell you this yet, but I want to. God, I want to. Let me tell you what it looks like from the outside when someone is carrying something this significant and hasn't found the words for it yet. It looks like a person who lingers a fraction of a second longer than necessary before saying goodbye, who finds reasons, small, almost imperceptible reasons, to extend the time spent in your orbit, who listens to you with a quality of attention that feels different from the way other people listen, as though everything you say is being carefully, privately archived, who looks at you sometimes in an unguarded moment with something in their eyes that doesn't quite match the casualness of whatever conversation surrounds it. You may have noticed these things. You may have filed them away, uncertain what to make of them, uncertain whether you were reading something real or constructing something you simply wanted to be there. This reflection invites you to consider, when you quiet the part of you that second guesses everything, what does your deepest instinct actually tell you about what this person feels when you are near them? Because instinct is a remarkable instrument when we allow it to function without the interference of fear, it registers things that the conscious mind is still processing. It reads the temperature of a room, the subtext of a silence, the meaning behind a gesture, long before the analytical mind has caught up. And it's possible, it is very possible, that your instinct has already told you something that your fear has been working overtime to argue you out of. I want to talk about the word forever because it is one of the most terrifying words in the human language and also one of the most extraordinary. Forever is not a length of time, it is a declaration of intent. It is a person standing at the edge of everything they know and saying, I choose this. Not because I know how the story ends, not because I have guarantees or certainties or any of the protections that fear demands before it will agree to let love move forward, but simply because something in me knows, with a clarity that defies argument, that this is the direction I want to walk. And some people watching this are in the proximity of someone who may be standing at exactly that edge right now, gathering something, building towards something, rehearsing in the private theater of their own mind words they haven't yet found a way to say out loud. This reflection invites you to consider, what would it require of you emotionally to remain open to receiving something of this magnitude without collapsing into either dismissal or desperation? Because both of those responses are understandable. Dismissal is the armor of a person who has been disappointed before, who has learned that hope is expensive, who has decided somewhere along the way that protecting themselves from the possibility of loss is worth sacrificing the possibility of the extraordinary. And desperation is the response of a person who has been waiting so long for something real that when it approaches, the sheer intensity of the wanting threatens to overwhelm the receiving. Neither of those postures serves you here. What serves you is something rarer, the ability to remain genuinely, quietly open, present with what is, rather than bracing against what was or grasping at what might be. There is a specific quality to the love that arrives with the word forever attached to it. It doesn't feel like the beginning of a fire, urgent, consuming, dependent on constant fuel to sustain itself. It feels more like the discovery of something structural, like finding a load bearing wall you didn't know was there, like realizing that something has been quietly holding things up for longer than you noticed, and that its presence has been making everything else more stable without you ever having to ask it to. Some of you know exactly what I'm describing because you felt it, that particular quality of steadiness that exists around a specific person, that sense that something about their presence in your life has been quietly reorganizing the architecture of who you are, making more room, creating more light without fanfare or demand. This reflection invites you to consider, in what ways has this person's presence, even before any declaration, already begun to change the shape of how you move through the world? Because that change, that quiet reorganization, is not nothing. It is, in fact, everything. It is the evidence that something real has already been happening beneath and before any words that may or may not have been spoken. Words are important. They make things official. They bring what is private into the shared space between two people, but they are not where love begins. They are where it becomes visible. And here is what I want you to sit with very carefully before this week continues. The person who wants forever with you, whether they have found the words yet or not, whether the conversation has happened or whether it is still composing itself somewhere in the space between you, that person is not loving you in the abstract. They are not loving a version of you that is more polished, more healed, more arrived than you currently are. They are loving this version, the one who showed up today, who pressed play, who is still figuring things out, who carries both beauty and complication in equal measure. And the question, the real question, the one beneath all the others, is whether you are willing to let yourself be loved that specifically, that completely, without shrinking into it or running from it or managing it into something more comfortable and less terrifying. This reflection invites you to consider, what would it mean for the life you are currently living to allow yourself to be someone's forever, and to let that be not a wait but a homecoming? Because forever, when it arrives in the right hands, is not a cage. It is not a demand or a test or a transaction disguised as devotion. In the right hands, forever is the most generous thing one human being can offer another. The declaration that your existence, your specific and irreplaceable existence, is something worth organizing an entire life around. The power is yours. It always has been. not the power to force a feeling into being or to manufacture a certainty that isn't there, but the power to remain open enough, present enough, trusting enough in your own worthiness to receive something extraordinary when it finally arrives at your door and asks to come in. I'm not sure how to tell you this yet, but I want to marry you. I want forever with you, not eventually, already in the wanting, in the gathering, in the quiet and persistent and utterly serious intention of someone who has looked at every version of their life and chosen without hesitation the one that has you in it. Trust yourself with this. You are someone worth choosing forever. You always have been. I want to hear from you in the comments because this one feels deeply personal. Has someone ever made you feel like a forever kind of love, even before any words were spoken? And what did that feel like in your body? And if someone wanted forever with you, what is the one thing you'd most need to feel safe enough to say yes? Share it below. I read every single word, and this community holds space for all of it. See you in the next one. And listen. The fact that someone sees forever when they look at you is not a burden. It is the beginning of something you have always deserved.